What if your soul wasn't just made, but loved into existence? What if before your first heartbeat, you were already known, desired, crafted by a God burning with infinite love? Have you ever taken a quiet moment to truly ask yourself, where did my soul come from? How does something so unique, so unrepeatable as you come to be? Today, we invite you on a journey into the profound and poetic vision of one of the Church's most beloved mystics, Saint Catherine of Siena. Born in 1347 in the humble Italian town of Siena, Catherine was the 24th child in her family. Yes, 24. While other children ran through the streets chasing laughter and dreams of earthly joy, little Catherine's heart already beat for something far greater. By the time she was just 7 years old, she had pledged her entire life to God. But Catherine was not just a saint. She was a mystic, a visionary, who spoke to God with a familiarity reserved for closest friends. Through her deeply moving visions and inspired writings, she unveiled glimpses of eternal truths: God's boundless love, the sacred dignity of life, and His divine design for every human soul. Today, though, we'll focus on one of her most stirring revelations: the mystery of how souls are created. To Catherine, creation wasn't simply a mechanical act. It wasn't distant or abstract. It was intimate, passionate. She saw it as the work of a God who is not only creator, but lover. A God who is madly, unreasonably, deeply in love with what He creates. Imagine this: a God so overflowing with love that He pours His very essence into every soul. He doesn't simply form you, He breathes life into you, shapes you, imprints you with purpose. That's the God Catherine knew. A God who looks at you not as a mere creature, but as a reflection of His own divine beauty. And yet, her vision didn't end with how souls are created. It reached further, asking, why? Why would such a majestic being create us at all? What is the purpose behind our existence? And what happens when we begin to truly see ourselves not through human eyes, but through the lens of divine love? She wrote of God as a fiery abyss of love, a flame so fierce it consumes itself to bring forth beauty. Each soul, she said, is born from this fire, and not out of obligation or need, but from pure joy. God doesn't create because He lacks something. He creates because love, by its nature, must overflow. Every soul is a witness to this overflowing, a masterpiece handcrafted in joy and held in eternal care. In one vision, she heard God say, "I created everything with love, and I care for everything with love." And now I ask you, can you imagine that the very God who made the galaxies also took time to shape you? Earlier we explored how Saint Catherine of Siena saw every soul as handcrafted by a God who loves without measure, a God who doesn't just make us but delights in us. Catherine believed that God poured the same tender love and overflowing joy into the creation of each soul, including yours. To Him, you are not just one among many. You are cherished, irreplaceable, created with care beyond comprehension. This, she said, is the God who longs for us to know Him, not as a distant deity, but as the very source of life and love. And if this is how God sees us, how could we dare to see ourselves or one another any differently? Saint Catherine's vision goes deeper still. It invites us to discover what it truly means to be reflections of God's love, and how that sacred reality should shape our relationships with the people around us. She painted a vivid image. Imagine a mirror so clear, so perfectly polished, that it reflects the radiance of the sun without distortion. That, Catherine believed, is what each human soul was made to be, a pure reflection of God's brilliance, His love, His very being. To her, no life was small, no person was insignificant. Every soul, no matter its condition or circumstance, bears the divine fingerprint. In every face, no matter how weary or broken, Catherine saw a sacred worth that defies calculation. In her writings, she often stood in awe of the miracle of human life, not as a theological abstraction, but as something breathtakingly real. She would ask, "What moved you, God, to create mankind?" And her answer was simple love. "You looked at yourself," she wrote, "and you fell in love with the beauty of your creation." Let that sink in. God looked upon his own reflection in the idea of mankind and fell in love. That's the reverence Catherine carried. She believed that when God looks at a soul, he sees a reflection of himself so radiant, so beautiful, that he is utterly captivated by it. And this truth isn't reserved for saints or the pure of heart. Catherine's vision was clear. The sacredness of life is not earned. It is given. The poor, the sinner, the outcast, all are loved with the same consuming intensity, because their worth doesn't come from their actions. It comes from their Creator. She urged us to see as God sees, to look at others with eyes that do not judge first, but love first. To recognize the divine spark in every person, even those who seem furthest from holiness. To understand this, Catherine believed, is to be forever changed. It transforms how we speak, how we act, how we live. It calls us to honor and protect life from its very beginning to its natural end. And it challenges us to look deeper, to see the soul, not just the surface. And here lies one of the great paradoxes of her vision. Even as we are created to reflect God's love, we are also called to see that reflection shining in others. In doing so, we become more than individuals. We become instruments of divine love, sent into the world not just to exist, but to uplift. So what does this mean in a world where human life is so often devalued? It means we are invited, no, challenged, to see every person as sacred, every encounter as holy, every relationship as a chance to reflect the face of the Creator. In the next part of our journey, we'll follow Catherine even further into her vision of love as the divine thread that binds us together. A love that flows from God, through us, and into the lives of others. Have you ever felt that invisible connection, the thread of grace linking your heart to another's? Catherine did. And what she saw next will deepen how we love and how we live. Previously, we reflected on how every soul carries the imprint of divine love. But Catherine didn't stop at identity, she pointed us toward mission. Because when we truly grasp how deeply we're loved by God, something in us changes. It becomes impossible to keep that love to ourselves. When you realize just how profoundly you are cherished by the Creator, you begin to see others through different eyes, as if God's love like a blazing fire ignites something within you, a warmth that refuses to stay still, a flame that grows stronger only when shared. Saint Catherine of Siena spoke of this often. In one of her insights, she wrote that just as the soul is united to the body, each of us is united to our neighbor. You cannot love the Creator, she insisted, without also loving his creation. To Catherine, love was not a fleeting feeling or emotional impulse. It was power, a force alive within us, an expression of God Himself working through our hearts. She believed this love was the very glue that holds humanity together. Loving others wasn't just an instruction, it was the fulfillment of our divine purpose. Each time we love our neighbor, we step into God's creative work. We affirm the sacredness of life, and we honor the divine thread that links us all. Catherine taught that this love knows no barriers of race, status, or even sin. Because love recognizes what the world so often forgets, that every soul is a vessel of grace, worthy of compassion and dignity. She often spoke of the bridge of love, a sacred pathway connecting us to God and to one another. But it's not built with grand, heroic acts. It rises brick by brick from simple things: kindness, forgiveness, mercy, a gentle word, a helping hand, a prayer whispered in secret. In one of her most powerful revelations, Catherine saw clearly that the love we offer to others is love returned to God Himself. "What you do to your neighbor," she wrote, "you do to me." Pause with that for a moment. Every small act of love, every patient word, every unspoken sacrifice is not forgotten. It becomes a gift to God, a mirror of His infinite love shining back to Him through us. Catherine's vision is not just a beautiful ideal. It's a wake-up call, a reminder of who we are created to be, channels of divine love, vessels through which His grace flows into the world. And when we live this love, we step into something far greater than ourselves. We become part of God's eternal story, reflections of His unity, His generosity, His heart. But Catherine didn't stop there. She also saw that God's love for us isn't just universal, it's intensely personal. She believed that each soul is created not only out of love, but for a specific reason. Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered, does each one have a role in the vastness of the universe? For Catherine, the answer was yes. And even more wondrous, so do you. In the next part, we'll explore her breathtaking vision of divine purpose, how each soul is uniquely crafted to play a part in God's eternal plan, and how we discover that mission by walking hand in hand with the Creator, becoming the person God created you to be. That's the journey St. Catherine of Siena invites us into. But she was clear. Our purpose is not just about personal fulfillment. It's not merely about happiness or inner peace. It's about something far deeper. For Catherine, every calling is ultimately rooted in love-loving God with all our heart, all our soul, and loving others with the same measure He pours out on us. She once wrote, "Love transforms the soul into what it loves." What a powerful truth. When we love as God loves, our lives begin to mirror Him. We become more than ourselves. We become extensions of His mercy, carriers of His compassion, beacons of His presence in the lives of others. And what happens when we lose our way? When we feel unsure about our place or our purpose? Catherine reminds us, God's plan isn't some secret hidden behind locked doors. It's revealed gently through the patterns of our lives, the people we meet, the moments that stir our hearts. Even in our failures, our questions, our silent prayers, God is working. She wrote, "God will make you the vessel of His mercy and the instrument of His love." That means your life, even with its messiness, doubts, and detours, is being shaped for something sacred. You are not forgotten. You are not random. You are being formed for a role in God's eternal story. So let us ask ourselves, not with fear, but with faith, what is God's plan for my life? What part of His love am I being called to reflect in this world? Catherine's vision doesn't give us all the answers. It offers us something greater: assurance. Assurance that your life matters, that your soul has meaning, that God, who made the stars and named them, has also written your name into His divine design. As we close this journey into the heart of St. Catherine of Siena's mystical revelations, let's remember this. Every soul is crafted by God, out of love. Every soul carries his image, like a flame carries light. And every soul, including yours, is destined for a unique and sacred purpose. May her words continue to echo in your heart. Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. So take this message with you, not just as knowledge, but as a living call. To see yourself and others through the eyes of divine love, to walk in your purpose, to become a vessel of mercy in a world so hungry for grace. If this reflection stirred something in your heart, feel free to like, share, or subscribe for more content that nurtures your soul and strengthens your faith. Thank you for being here today. May God bless you abundantly, and until next time, keep walking the path He has beautifully prepared for you.